You may have heard the expression, "all roads lead to Rome." During the glory days of the Roman Empire, that saying was true. Rome was the center of the empire, and roads from all over Europe led there. These roads allowed the emperor to spread Roman ideas and laws throughout the vast empire. With the system of roads, the emperor could send messengers to carry instructions to the regional governors. Roads also allowed goods and taxes to travel across the empire into Rome. These goods and taxes kept the powerful Roman Empire running. More important, perhaps, was that Roman soldiers used the roads. Their job was to enforce the law and put down any rebellions or attacks on the empire. The roads helped hold the Roman Empire together, but they also played a role in its decline. Other armies could use these roads too. The same roads that carried the Roman army out of Rome made it easy for outside invaders to march into the city. Beginning around 200 CE, some non-Roman groups of people wanted to do just that. At this time, Rome was still a vast and powerful empire, but it faced some serious problems. Powerful Roman generals were fighting each other. Each general wanted to gain enough power to become an emperor. This conflict was harmful for the health and well-being of the empire. The Roman government's main purpose was to provide law and order so that people could conduct business and live in safety. However, the fights among the generals undermined Roman law and order. The warring interrupted business, trade, and government. In addition, this large empire needed money to build roads, bridges, and buildings, as well as to pay administrators and soldiers. Over time, it became impossible to pay for everything. Managing the Roman Empire well became impossible. The Roman Empire grew weak enough in the 200s and 300s that it began to attract the attention of various groups that lived on the edges of the empire or outside its boundaries. Rome had conquered some of these groups of people and had sent armies to guard the borders against others. The Romans, who mostly spoke Greek and Latin, looked down on these people who spoke different languages and had different cultures. They labeled them barbarians. The word barbarian comes from a Greek word meaning foreigner. The Romans dismissed these non-Greek and non-Latin-speaking barbarians as primitive, uncultured, and inferior. However, many barbarian groups were not uncivilized. For example, many had skilled metal workers who created beautiful art, jewelry, and coins. The Romans referred to a number of groups as barbarians, including the Angles, the Saxons, the Huns, the Vandals, and the Goths, including the Ostrogoths and the Visigoths. Several of these groups of people were Germanic. They lived in northern Europe. The Angles and the Saxons lived in what is now Denmark and northern Germany. They eventually drove the Romans out of England. The Goths and Vandals attacked and eventually sacked the city of Rome itself. From the Roman point of view, the Vandals caused so much destruction that, even today, we still use the word vandalism to describe acts of destruction. However, the barbarians who left the longest memory of fear and destruction were not Germanic people. They were a nomadic people from Central Asia called the Huns. The Huns lived on the steppe, a flat, grassy, treeless area that stretched across what is now Ukraine, southern Russia, and Kazakhstan. The Huns raised sheep, cattle, and horses on the steppe. As the seasons changed and the available grasses dried up, the groups moved in search of new grazing lands for their livestock. The Huns were skilled horsemen and experts with bows and arrows. As young children, they learned to ride horses. So good was their horsemanship that one Roman historian described the Huns this way: they are unable to put their feet on the ground. They live and sleep on their horses. In the 300s, the Huns, tired of trying to survive on the steppe, began to move westward across Europe. Thanks to their skill in warfare and their excellent horsemanship, the Huns easily conquered other groups of people and moved on to their land. The Huns struck fear into the hearts of those they challenged. The most feared of all the barbarians was Attila the Hun. For about 10 years, Attila and his brother Bleda shared the throne as rulers of the Huns. But Attila wanted to rule alone. He killed his brother and became the sole king and leader of the Huns. Attila became known as a brilliant but cruel general. He led the Huns westward, conquering other groups and leaving a trail of destruction. The Huns crossed the Danube River and crushed a Roman army in Eastern Europe. Then they invaded what is present-day France. At one point, a Roman army joined with another barbarian group, the Visigoths, to defeat the Huns in a bloody battle in Gaul, present-day France. But that didn't stop Attila. It was to be his only defeat. Next, Attila turned his attention to Rome itself. In 452, he swept across northern Italy. In an attempt to save Rome, Pope Leo I, the Bishop of Rome, rode out to meet with the feared Hun general. Most Romans thought that was the last they would see of Pope Leo. But, as the legend goes, in a dramatic face-to-face meeting, Attila thought he saw a halo above the Pope's head. The church believed that Attila retreated because he feared this holy man, who seemed to have a power the cruel conqueror knew nothing about. Modern historians note, however, that Attila's forces were very weak at this point. Attila may also have been aware that Roman armies were approaching from the east. Regardless of the reasons, Attila decided not to attack Rome. Soon after this meeting, Attila became sick and died. Without their leader and weakened by disease, the Huns retreated into Eastern Europe. You may have heard the expression, Rome wasn't built in a day. It means that it takes a long time to accomplish a big task. It took hundreds of years before the Roman Empire reached its peak, and then it lasted for hundreds of years more. Eventually, the Roman Empire was split into two parts. The Western Roman Empire centered in Rome, and the Eastern Roman Empire ruled from Constantinople. Finally, in 476, a German king named Odoacer attacked Rome and killed the emperor. Since no new emperor was named, the date 476 is sometimes used to mark the end of the Western Roman Empire. The Eastern Roman Empire, which was not conquered, lasted for almost another 1,000 years.